So in this video today, I'm going to go through all the essential metadata fields that I use in my Serato library that I feel like you should be using too.
Before we get started, let me just ask you a quick favor. 79.1% of you that watch this channel are not subscribed. So if you're watching this right now, click the subscriber button because it will help the channel out. Now let's get on with the video.
So the first metadata field in your Serato library that you should be using is the lock feature on the left-hand side. Not a lot of DJs know what the lock feature does or what it even means, so I'm going to explain it to you. So essentially, if you lock your MP3, if you try and analyze that track again, it won't reanalyze the track. There might be a time where you've had to manually set the BPM for a track or manually update the beat grid because the beat grid didn't analyze properly in Serato, and you don't want Serato to reanalyze it again and mess it all up. So if you set the lock icon in Serato, it won't reanalyze the track. So in order to set the lock, all you need to do is press shift on your keyboard and then click here on your track. That will set the lock. And then if you want to unlock it, you just press shift again and then click it again and it will disappear. So the next metadata field that you need to use in your Serato library is the color field. Now, if you click the color field, you have a selection of different colors. So you've got green, red, blue, purple, etc. There's no set color theme in Serato. So setting one color doesn't mean anything. It's just based on your preference. So in my music library, I set my colors like this. So green means banger, yellow means opening, red means slow, black means delete, and then orange means warm up. That's personal to me and my music library. It's going to be completely different for you. For me, the colors are really helpful. Say for example, I've got a big folder of music like hip hop. If I go into that folder and I scroll through, I can see which tracks belong to which scenario or which part of the night. So I could be scrolling through this crate here and I know that immediately all the green tracks are my bangers or my main set tracks, all the orange tracks are my warm up tracks, and all the yellow tracks are my opening tracks. Just by looking at the color, I know what the track is. Using the colors can really help you out in your DJ sets. So the next metadata field that I use is the number column. Now I use the number column for two things: when I'm recording mixes and when I'm organizing my music library. So when I'm organizing my music library, I like to go into my crates and then order it by number. So say for example, I want to organize my dancehall tracks. I can come over to my dancehall smart crate and then order it by 1. This is the order where my tracks were added into my Serato library, so this will never ever change. So what I'll do is I'll start on number 1 and then I'll organize it however I want. So say for example, I want to go through my dancehall tracks and I want to determine which tracks are main set, warm up, opening, or delete. I'll start at number 1 and I'll determine if this track is a warm up, opening, main set, or delete, and then I'll move on to the next one, then I'll move on to the next one. I'm not going to be able to do this all in one sitting. Once I'm done, I can finish my organization, I can go do something else, and then when I come back, then all I need to do is come back to this crate and order it by number again, and it's going to be in the same exact order from when I was organizing it. Then I can just carry on. When you're organizing your music library, it's not good to sit there for hours and hours trying to organize. So I like to split up my music library organization in little chunks. So I say to every single DJ, do 20 minutes a day and then go do something else and then come back. So when you do your 20 minutes, you can close your laptop, go do something else. You might go DJ at the weekend, but then when you come back to your organization, you order the folder by number 1 again, and you're back to the same position where you was organizing. This is just a good way to use the number field in Serato. The next way I use it, and most DJs will use it as well, is when they're organizing a mix. So say for example, I've got to record a mix for a client, or I've got to record a mix for my Mixcloud. I'll pick all the tracks and then I might not want to DJ them in BPM order. So what I'll do is I'll order them by number. So what you can do in Serato is if you order it by number, you can actually move the tracks to whatever position you want. So this is just a good way to also use the number metadata field in Serato. The next metadata field that I use in my Serato library is song. So I think every single DJ uses song in their Serato library. This just tells you the name of the song. Now, a lot of DJs do have the song and the artist in this one field, which drives me absolutely insane. This field should purely be for the song name. So say for example, you've got the track 50 Cent In The Club. In The Club should only be inside this column. We'll move on to artists in a bit. In The Club should only be in here. So when you're going for your music library, clean up your metadata, clean up your song title so it just looks a lot cleaner. Now, I've got really bad OCD with my music library, so things need to be perfect. So when I'm scrolling through my music library, I like to just see all my titles nice and clean. Now, you might not be like me, but I feel like every single DJ should be a little bit OCD with their music library because your music library is very precious to you. So when you're going through your song columns, just make sure you just clean it up a little bit. And then on from that, the next metadata field that I use in my music library is the artist. A lot of DJs do have this column blank and it drives me insane. I like to scroll through my music library and see the song and the title. If you've got In The Club 50 Cent, you got In The Club in song, and you got 50 Cent inside artist, and that's it. When you scroll through my music library, it looks so nice and clean. Now that, again, that is my OCD. It gets the better of me sometimes, but I feel like it's just so important to have your data clean inside your music library because it makes everything easier when you're DJing. There's nothing worse than having to scroll through your music library because you've got loads of tracks, and then it makes it even worse when your titles and artists are not even clean, where you can't even see which track you're trying to select. Have a look at your music library, and just when you're going through, just do a little bit of a clean up, 20 minutes a day, clean up your titles and clean up your artists. The next metadata field that I use in my music library is BPM. Every single DJ uses this field. Now, in order to get the BPM of the track, all you need to do is just pick up the track and then drag it over Analyze Tracks in Serato, and you'll get the BPM. The next metadata field is key. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really mix in key that much when I'm DJing because I mix R&B and hip hop, and I feel like you don't really need to mix in key that much when you're doing those genres. Now, when it comes to house and all those other genres, you do need to mix in key because you're going to be doing longer mixes. You're going to be doing 16 or 32 bar mixes, so it needs to sound harmonic when you're mixing. But the way I DJ quite quick, and I don't really necessarily need to mix by key. Let me know your thoughts on mixing in key in the comments down below. But yeah, that's just another essential field that I have in my music library. But sometimes I do actually turn the key field off, because if you get in the habit of just mixing in key, you'll start to not play songs because they're not the key that you want them to be. So I went for a point where I actually got rid of the key metadata field, and it just helped me out when I was DJing. Trust me, if you focus on key way too much, then you're going to start mixing and DJing in a specific way, and it's going to be quite difficult to come out of because you're like, I need to mix in key, I need to mix in key. No, you don't need to. When you're doing R&B, hip hop and stuff like that, you don't need to mix in key. Don't take it so seriously, right? House DJs, yeah, mix in key because like I said, you're going to be mixing for 32 bars, etc. But if you're just starting out, learning how to DJ, learning how to mix, don't worry about key too much. The next field in my Serato library that I think is essential is genre. I actually think, apart from obviously song and artist, genre is really, really important to have in your music library. Like when you're DJing, we DJ in genres. You're searching for your tracks, you want to play an R&B song. You're searching for the next track, you don't want to jump from R&B to dancehall to house in them 3 songs. You want to be playing R&B for about 5-10 minutes, and then hip hop for 10 minutes, and then dancehall for 10 minutes. So it's really important to have the genre in your metadata, and it's also good for organization as well. So in my music library, every single track has a genre. If you start at the top of my music library, it starts with 80s and it goes to Afrobeats, then Amapiano, commercial, dancehall, R&B, hip hop, etc. Every single track has a genre, and this allows me to build my smart crates on the left hand side. So I have genre smart crates in my music library purely for organization purposes, right? I have a centralized location for all my tracks. If I want to find my hip hop tracks, I go to my hip hop smart crate. If I want to find my R&B tracks, I go to my R&B smart crate. I know that all my R&B tracks are inside this crate. So when I need to do my organization, I need to do some deletion, I need to create a mix, I can just go inside this crate. So I really think that the genre is very, very important in your music library. If you have a bunch of missing genres, you can use my app Music Library Tools. Literally pick up the tracks that have no genre, drag them over to the app, and it will update the metadata where it can. And then leading on from that, the next field that I use is the year field. Now, the year field is just as important as the genre one, but not so important. I used to be really, really for year and genre, but I feel like genre is the most important, and then the year comes second. Now, getting the year for every single track is quite difficult, and it is quite a tedious task. But when I started organizing my music library, I actually went through each one of my tracks and then added the year. That is a very long task, but that's why I also built Music Library Tools. So if you want to get Music Library Tools, check the link in the description down below. But when you have the years for your tracks, it's good for 2 reasons. The way I use the years in my music library is I created smart crates for all the years in my music library. So I had 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, etc. And then when I had them smart crates all set up, I can go into each year and I can be like, you know what? I haven't got that much tracks for the year 2016. So let me go download some tracks from my record pool. Now, the record pool that I use is Heavy Hits. If you want to get your first month for $4.99, check the link in the description down below, or use the code DJCB in the checkout. Now, you can go to your record pool and you can search by year, and you can find all the tracks from that year, and you can download some tracks and then update that. So that's one way I use the years in my Serato library. The other way is purely for making playlists for DJ sets. Now, say for example, you get booked for an old school R&B night. You need all the tracks, I'd say, below 2010, right? So in my music library, all I need to do is create a smart crate. Year is below 2010 and genre is R&B, and it's automatically created me a old school R&B crate. Having the year metadata in your music library will help you out for building your music library, but also building playlists for your DJ sets. The next field that I use in my Serato library is the Remixer column. Now, I use the Remixer column purely for adding colors, and let me explain. So in Serato, you can't create smart crates based on colors. So obviously, like I said at the start of the video, I use the colors for warm up, opening, main set, and delete. But I can't go into Serato and create a smart crate color equals green because there's no functionality for that. So I use Remixer to input the word of the color. So say for example, in this track here, I'll add green to it, then I can create a smart crate, Remixer is green, and it will have all my green tracks in here. So this is just a little hack to get your colored tracks into a smart crate. So the next field that I use is the composer column. So the composer column is purely for me to put if a track is a main set track or a track that's retired. Let me explain. So say for example, I'm adding new music into my music library. If I think the track is going to be part of my main set, I'll simply just type in main set into the composer column, and that's it. What that will do is it will update my smart crates. So I have all main set, I've got R&B main set, hip hop main set, UK main set, I've got 70 to 80 main set. If I add this tag into a track, it will go into all my main set crates. Now the reason why I do this is because before I used to play my main set and I used to completely forget to put tracks into my main set crates. So as part of my importing process now, I'll make sure that after I've cleaned up my metadata, set my cue points, if I think a track is main set, I'll simply just type in main set and it will automatically go into those crates. Now, when I go to DJ, all the tracks are going to be there because everything's done automatically. And then inside this field as well, I'll also type retired. So when I do my maintenance every 6 months, I'll go into my all main set smart crate and I'll go through each of the tracks, and if I think a track is retired from main set, I'll simply just type retired. It will come out of that crate and then go into my retired crate, and then I can have a look at the retired crate and think, you know what, do I need this track anymore? Is it going to be demoted to warm up? Is it going to be demoted to opening, or should I just get rid of it completely? This is just a good way to clean up your tracks, because if you don't clean up your tracks, what you're going to have is you're going to have a bunch of tracks in your main set crate that you're not going to play. So when you're scrolling, you're going to have a lot of junk in there that you don't need. So it's always good to do a little bit of maintenance every 6 months in your Serato library. So the next field that I use in my Serato library is label. So I use the label field to determine if a track is for the girls or not. I feel like every single DJ needs to have a girls crate in their music libraries, because I feel like getting the girls on the dance floor is the most important thing of a dance floor. If you don't have girls on your dance floor, you don't really have a dance floor. So when I'm adding new songs into my music library, or if I'm doing a bit of organization, if I think a track is a girls track, I'll literally just type in girls into label. Single Ladies, Rude Boy Rihanna, Umbrella Rihanna, all those tracks there have the label girls in there. So when I'm DJing and I see a bunch of girls on the dance floor, all I need to do is go into my girls smart crate and all those girls tracks are there. The next field that I use in my Serato library is comment. Now I feel like every single DJ should use comments for custom tags. So say for example, you think a track is, I don't know, a floor filler or a hype song or a slow song, you should type this into comments. Now I use the comments for determining if a track is a club classic. So a club classic to me is if a track is a floor filler, so a song that everyone knows and it's easy to kind of get people on the dance floor with that track. So examples of those tracks are Serrano No Games, This Is How We Do It, Montel Jordan. So all those tracks in my music library have the tag hashtag club classics, and when I add that tag into my MP3, it will automatically go into my Club Classics crate. You don't have to use Club Classics like me. You can use a completely custom tag to you. Having custom tags in your music library can really help you out of your organization.